Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Overthinking Christian Podcast. My name is Tyler, otherwise known as the Overthinker 249. This is something that I've kind of done on a whim. The Overthinking Christian started out as just a blog. I read about life, church, and whatever else was exciting me at the time. So I was sitting here the other day and writing a blog, and I thought, this doesn't sound right on paper. So I thought about it and thought I'd start a podcast. I don't know where this will go. I don't really have a plan for what it's going to look like. But I just want to talk and bring hope to people. Yeah. So here we are. So for this first episode, I don't know how long it's going to be. It might not even be that long, but I just want to talk a little bit about who I am, what this podcast is, and where I see this podcast going. So we'll first talk about what this podcast is. We're going to talk about a lot of different stuff on this podcast. There'll be a lot of different topics we can go to politics or Christianity, what's happening in the church, or just philosophical things. I'm not really going to be having a whole lot of answers. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions, though. I love for you guys to ask questions, and we could try to search for some answers together. Amidst all the questions and uncertainty in life, I'd like to bring hope to people. Hopefully we can find some answers, and hopefully we can find some hope in those things too. And this podcast, I know the title is The Overthinking Christian. I'm a Christian. I grew up in church. But hopefully this podcast, I don't want this podcast just to be for Christians. I think that anybody can find hope in this podcast. All right, so covered what this podcast is, but who am I? Well, I grew up in church, sort of, kind of. My grandmother was a Christian. She led me to Christ at a very young age. And, I've just been walking with Christ for a long time. And amidst a lot of darkness in my heart and my life. And I went to college and thought I was going to go into youth ministry, and I ended up dropping out. Became all depressed, and I've just been searching for answers, and started writing to help cope with emotions, and that's what led me to this podcast. And we will talk a lot about my background, where I'm from, what has happened in my life, hopefully. And hopefully we'll be able to get some friends of mine on here to talk about some stuff, talk about the church and things that we've been through, so we can bring hope to people. This is really, I think this is going to be good for me and for hopefully you guys to find hope in this world. And I don't really know where to go after this. But yeah, that's me. I'm just a regular person. I'm just a Christian searching for some answers, and I hope you'll join me on this journey into hopefully just building community of people who want to bring hope to this world. So yeah, that's my introduction to this podcast. I don't really know where this is going to go. I don't know where we're going with this. But I just want to talk about some stuff that I see. Hopefully next time I want to, have a longer podcast. Obviously, I want to talk about what's been going on in the church, specifically with all this leaders leaving the church. It's very disheartening to see. And a lot of people are leaving the faith because of these people leaving the faith. And it's very disheartening to see. And it's a lot of reasons that I think the culture invades the church in a lot of ways. But we'll get into all that next week. yeah, I want this to be good for you guys. I want this to be good for me, and I want to ask questions, find some answers. I want to interact with people, and that this is the first episode, the first introduction to this podcast, and hopefully we can continue, and hopefully next week we can talk about the church, what's going on with apostasy. If you know what that is, it means you leaving the faith, and we can figure out how we can find hope in that. So, see you next week.